What is going on, guys? It is Blink here, back with a new guide. So in this guide, we'll be talking a little bit about making smart decisions with a bunch of extra tips. Also, the V-Bucks giveaway is still going on, so make sure to visit the link in the description to enter. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, as I post an Amazon gift card code in the comments every time I upload. By turning on notifications, you have a way better chance of getting here first and redeeming that code. Anyways, guys, let's get to this guide. So, we're heading to Salty Springs, right to the blue building, and unfortunately someone beat me to the back, so I decided to go hit up the little house. Now, someone did land on the roof, although I did get a shotgun and the chances of him having one might be pretty slim. So, I went on to push him. Caught him with a minigun, so I did have the advantage, although the minigun is pretty insane in close battles. The thing is that he's got a little delay before he's able to shoot, although he ended up panicking and he never even shot it. He just proceeded to jump. Wasn't too hard of an elimination. As long as I've got that shotgun, I'm pretty happy. Because I avoided going through the blue house, I potentially saved this game. Had I used the front entrance, the player in the back most likely would have had a gun. I see so many players try heading for the front entrance when I'm already through the back. Just not the right thing to do. Say someone landed in every single house, well, you'll have to reroute somewhere else. You might not like it, but you need to find yourself a gun safely if you want to have a better chance of staying in the game. So I'm pretty good to fight this player inside the blue house. I go through the top floor to pick up any loot I can because it seemed like he hasn't looted the top yet. Got a green AR and some bandages, so a pretty solid setup so far. Now, as I'm going downstairs, I'm making sure to add floors and walls as protection, just to see if I can spot my opponent. Most of the time, I'll use some sort of materials inside a building because it's a way to give yourself an advantage. I can hear him down below, so instead of jumping down the hole under the stairs, I break the floor and replace it with my own materials. So he ends up being on the stairs and we both traded some damage. I just tried incorporating a little bit more materials, placed a wall to make it seem like I left, went right back down and broke his wall, and I ended up catching him shooting at my floor. Not sure how he didn't notice me breaking his wall, but overall I did get the elimination. I ended up using the medkit because I had no shields. I've also got 10 bandages with me, so I'm fine with that. The 10 HP from the medkit can help me a lot, although you don't really need to use it. It's all up to you guys. If I had some sort of shield, I would have most definitely not used it and just saved the medkit. Without shields, fights don't feel safe, so I'll usually try maxing out my health as much as I can. Now, I head outside to gather more materials, and I personally think that material nerf they made was a mistake. Every game I play, I almost never have maxed out materials anymore, even if I've got 10 kills in the game. It just doesn't feel right. And yes, some people might debate that lowering the materials might make you play a little smarter by conserving them a little more, but it just doesn't feel right. The fun is where you're able to build these giant skyscrapers when you're fighting. That's what makes Fortnite so fun. Outplaying your opponents with as many materials as you need. A lot of us play Fortnite for the building aspect, and running around hitting trees most of the game feels like I'm playing RuneScape. So I do hope they change it to how it was, and maybe even increase the amounts compared to last time. Although how it was fine. Epic does listen to the community, so I'm sure it'll be back to its original state in no time. And about these material nerfs, I had pretty low materials, so what I did here was use my tactical SMG to penetrate through my opponent's materials. It's one of the best weapons to use when needing to destroy your opponent's materials. That's why I'll sometimes either use the tactical shotgun or the tactical SMG with the pump combo. Now, because of the shotgun nerfs, my favorite shotgun setup is the double heavy. The damage and the speed make it one of the best combos to use. The nerfs with the low speed of the pump make it pretty weak. It's not bad though, I'll still use the pump plus attack. Just whenever I find a heavy shotgun, I'll usually replace my tactical shotgun with the heavy and use the pump plus heavy combo. If I find another heavy, then I'll use double heavy. So, I see another player and engage onto him with my rifle. Took his shields off and built myself some cover. Now, what I did wrong was not utilizing my materials a little more. The result is taking much more damage than I should have. Whenever I notice players that aren't the greatest, a lot of the times I'll play the situation a little more relaxed, and a lot of the times I end up getting eliminated because of that. It's a bad habit to have because even if you don't get eliminated, the damage you took might transfer over to the next fight, which might make it a harder of a fight. I heal up and I still have no shields, and you guys can see I've got 75 HP instead of the 100. Because I took the fight with less care, I'm left with 75 HP and no shields. A pretty big health disadvantage for sure. So I head over to the house and spot someone building on the other side. I was surprised he never heard me building up on him. I actually notice a lot of the times players not noticing they're getting built up on. Not sure if it's because they have their sound off, but you have to notice these things. It's super important if you want to keep improving. So I eliminate this player and I box myself in and take this player's minis. Now I'm at a pretty good state with 5 extra minis. Anytime I got minis, I feel pretty good throughout the game as they're the best healing item I could have. Now, I actually almost got sniped because I thought this player was kind of clueless. He was actually lining me up with the sniper, so this game could have been over right here. Thankfully, he missed and I got the elimination. He had a medkit and a bolty for me, so I had everything I needed so far in this game. Now, you guys can see the materials are still super low, even with the amount of kills I have. It just doesn't feel right. What do you guys think about the material nerf? Should they change it back, or do you guys like it? I heal up and I have to be careful with how many materials I use. You guys will really have to pay attention to the amount of materials you have, and so do the other players around you. So spraying your opponent's materials can be very useful now, especially because they probably have just as many materials as you do. Now, after getting the heal off, I head over to the west as I do hear players fighting. There were 2 players fighting and probably should have unscoped a little earlier as I was standing still for quite some time. Now, I did unscope the moment I heard a player behind me. This is exactly the same situation when I built up above my opponent, except I was able to notice it. Had I sat there, I would have probably most likely been dead. I had to finish this fight quickly because I was getting shot at by another player. Had my back turned, so the quickest way of finishing off this fight would be to drop down on my opponent and hit all my critical shots. Just wanted to avoid taking any damage in the back. So, I thought this player that was taking shots at me was the one player on my level. It was actually a player on the mountain. Missed his shots and stood right in the open like I never noticed he was there. Never ever expose yourself like this guy just did. First of all, if you shoot at a person, you better expect him to find you. Don't tunnel vision on someone else because the last opponent you shot might notice you. I was going for the push on this player, and you guys notice I actually end up backing up. The reason for this was because I heard shots to my left. Had I kept pushing, the player to my left would have easily been able to shoot me in the back, resulting in me putting myself in between both players. So right here, this is where you have to make smart decisions. Backing up allows me to monitor both players and make the right decision when needed. I use the edit tool to open up the wall. Once again, make sure you're only exposing yourself to one player at a time. Had I peeked over from the top, the second player I can't see has access to shooting me. So you want to make sure you're giving yourself as much of a 1v1 fight as possible whenever you're peeking over. I moved up as the storm is moving in, still making sure to cover myself from both players. The player out in the field tried running, and once again he tunnel visioned on the other player to my left. Never built cover, this allowed me to get a snipe onto him. Used that right side peeking angle to finish off the player out in the field, which now gives me a 1v1 fight against the player to my left. Now, I kind of look around my right side as I haven't really paid attention to my right, so I'm not sure if there are any players over there, just making sure no one tries to line a shot up on me. Now, I push this player, and the moment I place my third floor down, I put a wall up to peek over. The reason I peek over at the third wall was because by the time this player notices me pushing, he would have gotten ready to shoot me in the open. This is exactly why you try to line up a shot before he peeks, because most of the time, everything will happen so quickly, and you'll easily be able to take some shots onto your opponent. I've actually shown this in one of my recent full gameplay guides during Endgame. I placed a few floors down like I'm ready to rush, and after placing a few floors down, I placed my wall and stairs and instantly go out for the peek. My opponent gets ready to peek out thinking I'm going to continue the push, but what he doesn't know is that I'm one step ahead of him. I line up my shot before he gets ready to peek out. It's another great way of baiting my opponents that don't peek out. I've talked about 3 baiting tactics pretty recently: the stair baiting method, the wall baiting method, and the floor pushing method. Try all 3 of them and I'm sure one of them will bait your opponents into peeking. Now, there was a player up on this mountain, so I made sure I'm adding ramps above my head as I push up. Built myself a little 1x1, and what he ends up doing is building himself away from the mountain, which isn't smart. I've actually also talked about this too. Never build yourself away from a mountain if you don't need to. He put himself in a really bad situation. He could have easily built above me while not being at risk of taking massive fall damage. This is once again a smart decision he has to try making. The double ramp push also never helped him in his situation as it wasn't hard to shoot down. You guys can also see I still have very low materials. The reward of killing someone should be those materials. I can see myself dying a lot more because of not having the materials I need. So I'm still just making sure I'm careful with my material use. Now, I put a few shots onto this opponent and he proceeds to build up. I do the same and we both fight it out with the shotguns. Now, I could have probably built a little higher, but never really did because, well, materials. I can't allow massive sky battles since we'll both end up running out. So, I head up to the mountain and the player that was shooting at both of us from a distance finally started moving away. I don't end up eliminating him, but I know there's now potentially a player around the other mountain. I build myself up as I hear another player around that's much more of a threat. So I head down to the mountain as I'm still checking my surroundings because the player I heard can still be somewhere around. I just never ended up finding him. although I made sure I'm not getting shot in the back as I leave. You guys can also see I switched out my tactical and pump shotguns with the double heavy. The double heavy is the go-to combo I currently use, if I can find it. Although it does feel weird compared to the pump because the shots don't feel like they register too well. Over time, I did get used to using it and now it feels pretty good. So guys, give it a shot. You might actually enjoy the combo. So after eliminating this player, I'm still putting most of my focus towards the previous mountain I was on. I know there's potentially an opponent in that general direction and I want to make sure I'm aware of that. A minute later, he starts taking shots at me and at the same time I get shot at by another player. So if you're getting shot at by two players, turn in circles and build your walls. You need that cover as soon as possible. Thankfully, I never took that much damage and I tried sniping the player up ahead. He actually ended up getting eliminated by someone else, so what I did was head for this player's loot before the player behind me gets close. Although I instantly noticed a flash of white light inside this player's fort, which means there's someone building right on it. So my goal was to beat him to the high ground and put the pressure on right away. With the double heavy combo, I've got some good speed to kill off this player very quickly. Feels like I'm kinda using the old school double pump, which is nice. Now, I went for the build up again because the player from the mountain tried putting on the pressure. Build for that high ground and make sure you're walling yourself off from your opponent to avoid taking any damage. I've explained this before. If you're taking the high ground and you're always at low HP when taking it, then you're not really doing it right. You have to make sure you're adding those extra materials to cover yourself. You can't cheat your way to it because you want to do it quicker by using less materials. So guys, that's basically it. I'll skip to the last player because he ended up hiding for a pretty long time. I never even ended up getting the last kill because he died in the storm. He was a little too scared to peek out. Well guys, that's it for this guide. Hopefully I've helped some people out and a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated as it does help me out a lot. Anyways guys, thanks for watching and hope you have a great rest of your day or night and I'll see you on the next one.